Ging Freecss is one of, if not the strongest in Hunter x Hunter, and Togashi is setting him up as one of the main characters of the Dark Continent arc. However, it's not the world-ending creatures and calamities that he should be worried about in the Dark Continent. The one who Ging needs to keep in check is actually in his own team currently, Pariston Hill. This guy was so dangerous that he gained the respect of Isaac Netero, who made him the vice chairman just so the job would be challenging for him. And right now, Pariston's entire goal in life is to ragebait Ging Freecss. Yup, he is hunting hate from Ging because he loves him so much. Their rivalry is going to be at the center of the Dark Continent arc, because since the chairman election arc, Togashi has started putting Ging and Pariston directly against each other, especially when we saw them last in the manga. Their conversations so far are nothing short of battles. Ging himself states that Pariston's personality is similar to Netero's and his own in that he likes to play around and enjoy himself. He is uninterested in winning or losing, which makes him very unpredictable. Even Ging can't read this man's thoughts and intentions fully. The first place where they come in conflict with is in the expression of the hunter spirit. Ging wishes to preserve and build, while Pariston wants nothing more than to be a thorn in that process, continually corroding the world and people around him. The reason Ging wants to go to the Dark Continent is because he finds the unknown beautiful. However, Pariston wants to go to the Dark Continent because the unknown gives him new ways to break and destroy people. I will dig deep into both of them. It will also give us the answer to what Pariston's nin abilities might be. First, let me explain Jing's side of this battle. To Ging, being a hunter means chasing what you want and leaving things behind. Like your son, that's why he's the strongest, guys. Like, we know this from My Go Deadbeat Dragon. If you're a deadbeat, you become the strongest.
What?
On a serious note, this is hella deep by Togashi. Ging, since the start of Hunter x Hunter, is written to embody the ideal of what a hunter is. A hunter is not just someone who fights, it is someone driven by desire. They are alive because there is still something out there they have not touched yet. Even back on Whale Island, Mito describes Ging as the kind of person who was always moving ahead of everyone else. He would disappear into the mountains alone, chasing something only he seemed to understand. Jing's drive to hunt was deeply internal. He was not the kind of person who needed recognition, structure, or even companionship to keep moving forward. All of this is in strong contrast to Pariston, whose nature expresses itself much more through other people, systems, and the reactions he can draw out of them. What is the worst thing that can happen to a Ragebaiter? They get banned. Ging is no doubt one of the strongest, but he gained his legendary status through discovering and preserving ruins. Even his love for Gon as a father is hidden inside a hunt. He does not hand Gon answers. He turns himself into a goal to give his son purpose if he chooses to follow a hunter's path. If you guys want to know more about why Ging is actually not a deadbeat, watch my video from a few years ago where I explain Jing's entire philosophy and story. What I'm trying to get at is that Ging was designed by Togashi as an ideal for Gon to reach of what a hunter is supposed to be. However, we learn from Ging himself that Pariston is most similar to him and Isaac Netero, the characters Togashi has positioned throughout the series as the pinnacle of the hunter universe. But at first glance, bro seems like the exact opposite of a hunter. Pariston is a human destabilizer. Ging walks into a system and starts understanding it, while Pariston starts infecting it. Let's just look at the hunter election arc. At first glance, Pariston just acts like a troll. He wants chaos and annoys the Zodiacs by dragging out the election. But every action he took in that arc was part of his hunt, which we learn later on during the confrontation confrontation with Ging after the anime. He enjoys games because within them, people reveal weakness, frustration, hypocrisy, fear, and their obsessions, which gives him a sense of control over them, while also revealing the dark side of their human nature. He does not simply want to defeat people, he wants to break them. He likes it when people hate him. All he wants to do to the things he loves is hurt them. I'll expand on this later. That's likely one of the reasons why he even allied himself with Beyond Netero, because before Ging, Pariston's main target was probably Isaac, who had forbid his son from going to the Dark Continent. But through the help of Pariston, who remember didn't send any temp hunters to aid the gang against the ants, which ultimately led to the death of the chairman, Togashi has given us several hints to how Pariston and Beyond may have been behind the Chimera ants creation in the known world in the first place. Like how Beyond was living in Kakin and Kite was researching the Chimera ants in Kakin when Gon and Killua teleported there after Greed Island. I have made a whole video explaining this, so go watch that if you want to learn more. Ultimately, the entire reason for Pariston aiding Beyond might have been fueled by Pariston's desire to hurt Isaac Netero, who is similar to Ging. Pariston is a man whose pleasure is tied to corrosion. If Ging represents the hunter as an explorer, Pariston represents the hunter as a sadistic experimenter. Both are curious and deeply selfish, but Jing's selfishness always ends up creating things like Greed Island, while Pariston's selfishness only damages what was already there. Look at how they operate around institutions and people. Ging is difficult, arrogant, and antisocial, but when he leaves something behind, that thing usually becomes richer and stronger. Greed Island made Gon and Killua stronger hunters. Kite exists because Ging saved and nurtured him. Razor was redirected instead of discarded. Meanwhile, Pariston is the opposite. When he enters the Hunter Association, missing hunters spike because during Pariston's 3 years as vice chairman, 18 hunters went missing, an average of 6 per year. Before Pariston, only 0.6 hunters on average would go missing every year. The organization also gets more politically compromised with the temp hunters under Pariston's control, creating a big block. He tightens control over the boards and all the personnel. He keeps it harder for the Chimera and Extermination Force to receive help. He takes the structure of the association that should serve a purpose and turns them into his playground, which might be at the center of Pariston's Nenability and Hatsu. It's as if he can only have fun when things are under his control after being broken. And that is why Pariston is so terrifying for the Dark Continent arc, because the Dark Continent is already a nightmare. You do not need someone there whose hobby is literally making systems collapse faster. While villains in other anime want to dominate, this motherfucker just wants to be simulated by Ging. Bro is a certified freak. That is why he loved Netero and wanted to hurt him. And now he is fascinated by Ging, because as smart and strong as he is, there aren't a lot of people's emotions he can't already dissect and break. Just look at the Zodiacs, like bro broke them apart bit by bit in the Hunter election arc quite easily. Once he reaches the Dark Continent, Pariston will get to work taking control over that system too. A continent full of unknown life forms, calamities, disasters, and humans arrogant enough to walk into it is exactly what this gooner desires. To me, Pariston is a version of hunterhood that has severed itself from conscience and redirected all of its curiosity into emotional violence. It's like going way too far in the pursuit of a hunter's desire. He is the hunter instinct with no obligation to preserve what it touches. And that makes him the perfect enemy for Ging. A fight between Ging and Pariston isn't just a 1v1 battle, but a full-on war. And the first battle has already been won by Ging before they even set foot inside the Dark Continent. This happens at Beyond Netero's hideout. First, we learn that Pariston became a hunter 3 years ago, specifically in in preparation for Beyond's expedition. That alone tells you how central this was to his life, which makes sense as Beyond's project is the largest destabilizing event in the series outside of the Chimera and Crisis itself, and already established how Pariston was likely behind that also. This declaration of the V5 going to the Dark Continent opens forbidden routes and upsets the balance between the nations and hunters of the world. It also lets Pariston step outside the increasingly boring structure of the Hunter Association and move into a larger, looser arena full of stronger toys. And until chapter 342, Pariston had complete control over things, as Beyond, the true leader, is imprisoned by the Hunter Association until they reach the Dark Continent. But Ging Freecss strolls on in and says he will become Pariston's new plaything now until he begs him to stop. This shit is so freaky, bro. Look at this panel. Tell me this is not sus, guys. And since Pariston's introduction, we see his smile crack for the very first time as Ging clocks his personality perfectly. That he and Pariston are kindred spirits looking for outside roads. This is the worst thing you can do to a manipulator like Pariston, to blow away the masks they wear and see right through them. Ging digs even deeper into Pariston's thought process, that even though he is obsessed with the system of the Hunter Association, he is trying to destroy it by releasing the Chimera ants, which would either create the ultimate chaos in the known world, leading to Pariston finding even more interesting situations and systems, or just outright taking over the association by having the ants take the exam. From Jing's perspective, this thought process is like a baby crying for attention, never content with the toys he has. There is no real love Pariston feels towards it, because if it became boring, he would just throw it away and find a new playmate. Ging says this is a real scumbag behavior, and he knows because he is one. Bro left his kid. Pariston doesn't even disagree. He says that normally people find happiness in loving and being loved, but he feels happy when he's hated and wants to harm the things he loves. Then he asks Ging, like, low-key, bro, if we're really thinking about it, like, is it even that strange though, twin?
Shut your stupid.
But Ging still has his humanity and conscience on straight. As a hunter, he says that depends on the extent to which one goes to. Pariston is totally out of it. They may be similar in thinking out of the box, but their motivations are completely alien. Then Ging reveals his true intentions, that he came to Beyond Netero's hideout to become the number 2 of the Dark Continent expedition. But there is a slight problem. Pariston holds that position, which shocks Ging because he thought this was a hierarchy of strength. That is straight up slander. Now, I'm sure Pariston's Nen is beyond broken busted, especially with him gaining the respect of Isaac Netero and being a 3-star hunter. He even warns Ging to not underestimate him. Ging realizes this, but says that even if Pariston was all about throwing hands and he got pummeled by Ging, he would be laughing on the inside because it would have been a successful rage bait. To defeat someone like Pariston, Ging needs to break his spirit instead. So he declares himself as number 2, and Pariston is okay with it, huh? What? Probably just like, yeah, I'm cool with it, dude. He just sits there in the corner like a good boy listening to Ging yap on about what he knows regarding the Dark Continent. But in silence, every word out of Jing's mouth low-key irritates Pariston for the first time. Especially the way Ging is just winning over all the men that Pariston found for this expedition. He says that for the first time, he might grow to hate someone, and is curious what he will do to someone he hates. This entire interaction of Ging bringing the temp hunters to his side by paying them is a hidden tactic to rage bait the Ragebaiter. Over and over again, Togashi asserts that Jing's thinking is in line with Pariston, so getting Pariston to hate him is part of his strategy to break Bro's spirit. But Pariston had his own games ready as a month later, when Ging is spending time nenmogging every single one of the temp hunters in Beyond's crew, Mujer shows up. He questions Jing's motives for joining their expedition team, as he suspects Ging will betray them. But Ging reveals that he only intends to prevent Pariston from completing his destructive plans while giving his full support to Beyond. Mujer and the assassins are more loyal to Beyond and still don't trust Jing's words, because he used to work for the association until a while ago. They can't accept his presence since Beyond doesn't even know Ging has taken Pariston's position as the number 2. The responsibility to make decisions falls on Ging currently, because Beyond is held captive by the Hunter Association. The assassins give Pariston and Ging an ultimatum for one of them to leave the crew, but both of them give the assassins their own alternative options. Ging tells them to just leave, while Pariston asks them to kindly die. The difference in response is the perfect showcase of Ging and Pariston's duality. Both of them don't want to deal with the assassins or care about their opinion, but they have two different ways of communicating this desire. Pariston's choice is more filled with pain and hatred, alluding to his desire to hurt the things he loves, because remember, these assassins are part of Beyond's team. Until recently, Pariston was their leader and ally, but him saying he wants them to die is hurting not only them, but himself. However, he's going way beyond the line, as Ging mentioned earlier. Ging, on the other hand, does not have any connection to these men, and since they haven't hurt him yet, he simply asks them to leave. He doesn't hurt himself or the men. While Pariston hurts the things he loves, Ging preserves them. They are both part of the same hunter coin, but inhabit the opposite sides. Hence, the name of the entire series, Hunter x Hunter. The henchmen start attacking them with Nen bullets as they escape into the underground. Ging, to fend off the assassins, finally shows us a glimpse of his Nen. He creates a combo of punches into the ground as Pariston watches in amazement, since Ging just reproduced Leorio's remote punch to knock out 3 enemies. Pariston wonders if Jing's power is to copy others' Nen abilities, but Ging is such a Nen genius that this is simply a talent of his to imitate any Nen ability as long as he has been hit with it. After this exchange, Ging realizes that this attack by the assassins was all part of Pariston's plan so he could find out his abilities. Ging then suggests that Pariston should fight him himself if he wants to figure out what his abilities are. Either way, ultimately, Mujer agrees to make Ging number 2, while all battlefield instructions will be handled by Mujer. Pariston then walks in and announces that he can now donate his money to all of Beyond's men, claiming that Ging is now officially the second in command. Ging basically stole Pariston's title and role right out of his hands, but Pariston is not done yet. Everything we have discussed is low-key going his way. He has a new toy, and since a Nen user's Hatsu derives from their personality, Togashi might have already given us clues to figure out what Pariston's might be. Pariston's visible power and threat right now is not his aura, it is his social engineering skills. He creates situations where other people expose themselves, like he tried to expose Jing's abilities through the assassins. Pariston's Nen, once revealed, will be one of two things. Either it will be a manipulation type ability built around conditions of emotional response or social contracts, or it will be an ability that allows him to distort relationships, incentives, and information. It will likely be a power that only becomes lethal after a long chain of voluntary choices by the victim, which would make it a perfect Hatsu for a man who wins by making you participate in your own defeat. That would match Jing's own assessment of Pariston, as he is worried about the way Pariston thinks. It will be a power that turns your decisions into a cage. Jing's style is of understanding and adaptation, while Pariston's style will be of entanglement and sabotage. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and sit tight because we have more Hunter x Hunter videos coming your way. Togashi might finally upload the chapters, you guys. He's done until chapter 430, they said, but hopefully he remembers to publish them. Please, we need the chapters, bro.